If you want to build a property, a bungalow or a house in rural Ireland, you're going to have to deal with the difficulty of obtaining planning permission. And one of the things that you'll probably come across is this idea of the local needs criteria. Most local authorities have, in fact probably all local authorities have, a local needs policy. And that is, if you can demonstrate that you have a particular connection to the area, then you may qualify under the local needs requirements or criteria to build a one-off house in the country. But it's difficult. It's not straightforward. I'm based here in Meath and I deal with people. I'm in Enfield, so I'm on the border between Meath and Kildare. So I deal with people buying property in Meath and Kildare all the time, and indeed people getting sites or buying sites with a view to building a house on them. The question of local needs and the question of obtaining planning permission is vitally important. So to give you some heads up in relation to the local needs criteria, for example in Meath, and you may have to check this for your own local authority, but in Meath we are looking at Meath County Council will support proposals for individual dwellings on suitable sites in rural areas where the applicant can demonstrate a genuine need for dwelling on the basis that the applicant is significantly involved in agriculture. That may not apply to you. Where the applicant can clearly demonstrate that their significant employment is in the bloodstock and equine industry, forestry, agritourism or horticulture sectors, and they can demonstrate a need to live in a rural area in the immediate vicinity of their employment to carry out their employment. Where the applicant has spent substantial periods of their lives living in rural areas as members of the established rural community for a period in excess of 5 years, and who do not possess a dwelling or who have not possessed a dwelling in the past in which they have resided, or who possess a dwelling in which they do not currently reside. This now is the Meath local needs situation. An applicant who is originally from rural areas and who are in substandard or unacceptable housing scenarios and who have a continuing close family ties with rural communities, such as being a mother, father, brother, sister, son, daughter, son-in-law or daughter-in-law of a long-established member of the rural community, being a person resident rurally for at least 10 years. Where the applicant is a returning emigrant who have lived for substantial periods of their lives in rural areas, then moved abroad and now wish to return to reside near other family members, to work locally, to care for older members of their family or to retire. And an applicant whose employment is rurally based, such as teachers in rural primary schools, or whose work predominantly takes place within the rural area in which they are seeking to build their first home, or are suited to rural locations such as farmhands or tradespeople, and who have a housing need. The Planning Authority, Meath County Council, Kildare County Council recognise that exceptional health circumstances may require a person to live in a particular environment or close to family support. So in these cases, in these exceptional situations, you may get planning permission for a house in a rural area. But you are looking at criteria being imposed by the local authority, the local needs criteria, and you're looking at probably, certainly in Meath anyway, you're looking at an application form. And if I take a look at the application form there for Meath County Council in respect of a local needs application form, and before you apply for planning permission, Meath County Council have a local need form. It's to be completed for all rural housing planning applications. It'll look for the name, the address of the person, the location. It'll look for details of the place of residence of the person over the past 5 years, and it'll look for a breakdown. It'll ask you how long you're living in the present house, the name and address of the landlord, the relationship to the landlord. If relevant, submit documentary evidence supporting your links with the area, and then the following section is to be completed by both the applicant and the spouse or intended spouse. So you'll be setting out your occupation, the spouse's name, the spouse's occupation, the actual place of work, the distance of work from the present house. Do you own the property? If so, yes or no, give details, the reason for the selling the existing property, state if and when you last lived in the general area where the site is located, what links have you or your spouse, intended spouse, partner, co-applicant to the local area where the site is located, the name and address of and that's the exact townland of the immediate family that live in the area where the site is located. Have you engaged in pre-planning discussions with planning officials in relation to the application? You are strongly encouraged to engage in pre-planning discussions with planning officials in Meath County Council, and I presume it's probably the same in Kildare, and I would imagine Kildare have similar criteria excuse me, similar criteria to Meath, and probably the other local authorities have as well. So you'll see there that the local needs criteria for a building house, a rural house in Meath or Kildare, or probably any other local authority in the country, it's possible, but it's not easy, and you will have to genuinely fulfill the local needs criteria. Each council will probably have a slightly different tweak on the local needs, but the likes of Meath or Kildare, you can very easily Google local needs Meath County Council or local needs Kildare County Council, or whatever your relevant county council is for you, and have a look at what the criteria are. You will need to be able to fulfill them. If not, then you're going to be in great difficulty in terms of obtaining planning permission for a rural dwelling. Certain persons take the view that this is unfair or it's ridiculous, or they have a connection with the area, but the bottom line is the planning officials are obviously intent on ensuring that there isn't sort of wholesale, willy-nilly ribbon development up and down the country, despoiling rural Ireland essentially. I don't know what your particular view is on that. I have a view, but I'm not going to bother sharing it here because it doesn't really make any difference. The law is the law, the planning laws are the planning laws, and local needs criteria are going to have to be applied for, and it's a good idea, very good idea, to have a pre-planning meeting with the local authority if you're going to make an application, because you will get a good steer in relation to what will be a possible runner and what won't be, what will be a complete non-runner. The other thing I'd recommend that you do is you speak to a local architect or surveyor who is regularly submitting planning applications to the local authority, because quite frankly, if you are submitting applications regularly, repeatedly over a number of years, you will have a fair idea, a very good feel for what will work and what will be accepted and what simply will not be accepted. So it's a good idea to engage the services of a local architect or surveyor or person who submits plans and have a chat with them first. They'll give you a good steer, and then you could have a pre-planning meeting with the local authority. That'll give you the best chance that you have, but you will be looking at local needs criteria, and you will be looking at quite stringent questions in relation to establishing local needs, where you've lived in the past, whether you've owned property and so on. Hope you find this video useful. If you do, I would appreciate if you gave it the thumbs up down below. Thanks a lot.